Hello, my name is Jailynn Thomas, and my new venture is a service as opposed to a product. My new venture is Empowering Young Minds. Empowering Young Minds is a youth mentoring foundation that focuses on improving the lives of today's youth who are underprivileged or at risk. So for starters, youth that are underprivileged or at risk are youth that are in particular situations such as low economic families, who are behind academically, who are in the foster system. Any of those different stipulations can cause a youth to be considered underprivileged or at risk. This at-risk title is given to youth who are more likely to engage in negative behaviors that we see on many statistical demographics. Because of their background or upbringing or their situation, they are more likely to engage in some of these behaviors that could lead them down a negative path in life. Some even take it as far as to say that these youth are more likely to engage in even a life of crime. So that's why they've been given this title of at risk or underprivileged. So those are the youth that my organization, Empowering Young Minds, specifically targets. And our main goal is to impact the lives of these youth in a positive way. And the way that we do that is through positive reinforcement, interactive mentoring, most importantly, and just overall an open forum for youth to engage and be able to share their opinion and really express their needs through this program. So while the youth are sharing what it is they need, our program curriculum is in line with what services that we believe that they need. So that's the whole purpose of Empowering Young Minds. We are currently working with organizations already, and this program already exists. This is something that I am extremely passionate about, which is why it actually does exist in my real life right now. So this is a passion of mine because I live by the idea that everyone needs someone in their corner in order to promote their success. And this group particularly needs someone in their corner more than anyone else. So that is where that passion comes from. This is an underserved part of our community. So it is important for them to have some sort of opportunity to be able to be successful and feel like they have the extra steps needed to be successful. Oftentimes, families or kids or students of families who are well off are given more opportunities based on their financial upbringings and what it is they can afford to utilize. And these students in this underserved community are unaware of a lot of different resources and don't have access to as many resources as maybe a student of a family like this might have. So what I'm currently doing in this program is working with a school called Daniels Learning Center, and Daniels is an alternative school. So all the students that I work with at Daniels have all been put out of their host schools for a variety of reasons. I have students currently in my group who have been put out for fighting. Some have been put out of school for truancy, just not showing up for whatever reason. But most of them are behind on an academic level. And behind can mean a year behind, or behind can mean 4 years behind. So they've taken this group of students and put them all in a class per se with people that are their age, so should be in the same grade. They've taken them, they put them all together, and they give them a laptop, and they're supposed to do work on the laptop and catch up with where they're supposed to be academically. While this is, and I guess the best way or the only way to catch them up, the educational portals that they use have systems where they answer the questions and they get them wrong, and the system tells them that that's not the correct answer. So they answer the questions, they get them wrong again, and the system continues to tell them this is not the correct answer. So the system is a disservice because they utilize it and get all the answers right because they keep repeating it, but may not necessarily understand the material. So when these students go back to their host schools, they're almost still set up to fail because they still don't understand the material they're supposed to understand from going to this whole school and learning it separately. So this population in particular is extremely disserviced for so many reasons, regardless of their background and upbringing. They all pretty much have this educational setback that is not being resolved. So I was exposed to this group for a totally different reason, a separate tutoring entity. And I knew that from what I saw from the educational level and the lack of the system, that this would be the perfect group for my particular business as it became to evolve. So far, I stepped into the process, and I had this vision of what it was supposed to look like, what it was going to be, what the topics were that I was going to go over. But the minute I stepped foot in that first class session for Empowering Young Minds, I knew that what I had envisioned was not what my group needed. And that is when I learned that is going to be a huge part of what Empowering Young Minds needs to stand for and be about. Yes, I have a baseline and a foundation of what I want these kids to learn and take away from the program, but it's so important to keep in mind that I have to meet the kids where they are. And so that is what working with Daniels has taught me more than anything, is I have to meet the youth where they are. I expected the students there to be at a certain standard, and they were much lower than that. So I had to make that adjustment. But once again, that is what I learned that Empowering Young Minds is all about. You have to meet the group where they are if you want them to receive the quality of service that my business intends. So that is a big deal for my organization. That's super important. So that's what we're doing currently. And so now there are a bunch of next steps that we need to take as an organization. And right now the organization is me, but I will talk in terms of how the organization plans to expand in the terms of this business template. So the next steps for us, the first thing that we're looking to is getting our 501c accreditation. So we get donors for our funding, because right now it is just me, like I said. So all the money is from donors and people who have just heard about the project, see the project, and want to support the project in whatever way they can. So all our money is coming from donors. But with a 501c accreditation, it makes our business more official, more legit, for lack of better words. So this certification will allow us to increase our donor population and increase our amount of donations. So right now, the reason I can't do it right now is because we don't have enough money in the company pot to be able to pay for that 501c. It is very expensive. It is over $1,000, and that is our pot. So right now, it's just not in the best interest of my business to spend the money on that right now, when I have to gain more of a donor following a little bit and then be able to make that purchase. But once I am able to make that purchase and get the 501c, I personally believe that will skyrocket our donations from just individual people to organizations, corporations will be able to donate and use that 501c tax code as a tax write-off. So that's the next big thing, and the next steps for the company. Another cost that is, I guess, for lack of better words, a burden for the company right now is cost with e-commerce, like talked about in this MOBI business plan. So the e-commerce costs are not as expensive as the 501c accreditation, but they are still a business expense. And so, for example, we do have a company website. It is empoweringyoungminds.net. So if you have not visited the site, please visit it already, empoweringyoungminds.net. So the site alone has a annual cost. So right now that cost is set at $200, and it will continue to be that same $200 annually. So that is a company cost. But in addition to that, the bigger company cost issue is the fact that in order for donors to be able to donate online, I would have to pay the website portal, for lack of better words, I have to pay the website portal a percentage on every donation. So in order to get one of those nice little fancy donate now buttons on your website that everyone loves and make it super, super easy for people to donate to your business, I have to pay back a percentage, typically anywhere from 2 to 10% of what that person donates back to the website that's receiving the money. So that could be problematic, which is why we haven't considered doing that yet, because we lose a percent of donations from doing that. Also, another issue with that is that the particular website portal that we're using right now, which is Squarespace, they link their donations to PayPal, which is a service for people to go ahead and make donations, but I believe that PayPal may be a little outdated for the people that are donating to us specifically. So those are just things that we have to kind of weigh the costs, and not just financial costs, but weigh the opportunity costs per se. Is it worth paying the extra fee to get those donations, but then not having anyone use PayPal, or having to pay that fee and telling people, okay, but if you want to donate, we need you to make a PayPal account, and lose donors. So that's just something to consider. It's something that is currently being considered for the organization, because of course we want donations to be easy for people to give. So that's the issue we have right now in regards to e-commerce. Outside of e-commerce, we of course have competition, because everyone has competition. And so our biggest competition right now is, I would say, split into two entities. You have entities that serve large groups, those big corporations like your YMCA and your Boys and Girls Club. To me, those companies are competition, but are also not competition at the same time. They provide a similar service, but do not provide the service that we provide. So they do service a large amount of kids, and usually the kids that they serve are also youth that are considered underprivileged or at risk, because their services are typically not very expensive. So the families that you see utilizing these services are typically families that can afford it, those underprivileged or at-risk families or low-income families. So they do service a lot of that same population. You also see those organizations in large cities. So in cities, like I'll use Chicago, for example, in these larger cities, you see a huge prevalence of low-income families. And cities are set up with living spaces, and people live right on top of each other. And unfortunately, that is where you see low-income families. So they put those youth organizations in those areas is where you typically find them. So they're serving a lot of the same population, but they do not provide the same service. We used to go to the YWCA as a student when I was a little bit younger. So I've seen that program firsthand. I was in it for many, many, many years, and remember the basic setup of the program, which is why I know so vividly that they don't provide the same service. They don't typically offer that form of mentoring, for one. I really see them pretty in line with like a babysitting service. It was a place for kids to go after school, and there were a variety of activities for you to do. Whether it was sporting activities like basketball, whether you liked art, whether it was going in the computer lab and doing your homework. It was just a way to keep kids entertained between getting out of school and the time their parents get off work. So that is not at all what we do. Of course, we have fun, exciting, engaging activities for the kids, but everything is with the intention of being a stair step to their success. It's not shooting hoops or going to the computer lab and playing games. They are set lesson plans, like I said, that are the steps, hopefully building to student success. There is room for input for students to kind of gauge and tell what are some things they want to work on and want to see, and get their questions answered. So there is room for student feedback. But it is not just all activities for the purpose only of fun. So the second entity, I would say, of the competition for us is you have individual organizations that serve the same purpose that we do, but do it through an activity. So an example of that would be an organization like Girls on the Run. Girls on the Run is one of the most popular organizations that I know of that is a little bit closer to competition for us. So from my understanding, and I've never interacted with this organization, but from my understanding, they have the same goals, same intention, same purpose, but their program is also about being physically fit. And they have runs and 5Ks and things like that. And the running is a big part of the organization, hence it's even in the name. So they are similar, but once again, we don't focus on physical activity-based things like that. So those are areas of competition, and I think that while these are areas of competition, the service that we provide is so specific that we will be able, as we expand and grow, we will be able to eliminate competition like that because the service we provide is so specific, and because the service we provide is needed for so many students out there. A lot of people, especially our competition, like Girls on the Run, or even an organization I work for, it's called the First Tee, which does the same thing for youth but through golf. A lot of organizations like that are not going into the schools, number one, where the kids have to go, and number two, they're not specifically targeting underprivileged and at-risk youth. While a lot of them end up with underprivileged and at-risk youth because of the area that they're in and the fee or lack thereof for their services, they're not specifically targeting those youth like I am. So my program is exclusive to them. My program meets them at their needs, and my program hears them and is catered to them. So, and it changes per each group. So with all those specifics, I don't see how this program could fail. They're going to be requirements for expansion, but the overhead is minimal. We do not have a building or a headquarters, and I don't really see that being something in the near future. We are traveling into the schools, and I think that that is the best way to do it, to keep costs low and meeting the kids where they are at the schools that they go to on a daily basis anyway. And maybe expanding means continuing to work with more schools that are alternative schools. So, all of that costs for little overhead, and as far as spreading the word and getting more clients, that makes our job a bit easier going into the schools, because one school organization will talk to another. So our marketing and gaining of customers won't necessarily be a huge feat, because we'll be able to say, hey, we worked with this school that's also in your district. So for all those reasons, I don't see how this program could fail. I am extremely passionate about it, and it's something that I want to do lifelong and career-wise. So those are the ins and outs of it. And if you have not visited our website, please go visit empoweringyoungminds.net. Feel free to contact us. Our email is on the website as well, empoweringyoungmindsfoundation@gmail. But those are our upcoming goals, and we'd be super excited to talk more about it and just continue to spread the word about Empowering Young Minds, because you will be hearing about us in the future. This is going to be great, and it's going to continue to blow up.